Hey guys, what's going on? It's Shatterpoint back with another video, and in this one we're going to be talking about Batman the Animated Series episode If You're So Smart, Then Why Aren't You Rich? Batman the Animated Series was the series that was done in 1992 and still stands as one of the best interpretations of the character that has ever been seen. So our story starts with us looking at the outside of the Competitron office building. We then hear the voice of the manager, Mr. Mockridge, asking an associate if Edward Nigma has checked in for work yet. The associate replies with no, and then he says, "Good, if you need me I'll be on the 8th floor." We then focus inside of the building at the elevator, where Edward Nigma is exiting the elevator, late for work. He's completing a crossword puzzle. As he makes his way to his office, he finds that the door to it is locked. Edward then says, "What is the meaning of this?" Mr. Mockridge is standing behind him, and he says, "What does it look like, Eddie?" "You're out of here, you're history, you're fired." Edward replies with, "You can't do without me, Mockridge. I created the Riddle of the Minotaur video game. This company is making millions from my genius." Mockridge says our company's success didn't come from the product, Nigma. Our strength is in the boardroom, the deal, the contract, specifically the work-for-hire contract that you signed. Nigma replies with, "You're a fool, Mockridge, if you think that you can get away with this. Your greed is no match for an intellect like mine." Mockridge replies with, "Well, tell me something, Nigma. If you're so smart, then why aren't you rich?" The scene then jumps to 2 years later, where we see Daniel Mockridge offering a sales pitch to Bruce Wayne and Lucius Fox. Bruce then says, "Enough with your pitch, Mockridge. I want this deal. I want the jobs that it will create for the citizens of Gotham." Mockridge then becomes spooked at what he sees on one of the signs on the building next door that he can see through the window. The sign reads, "Why do multi-million-dollar deals break down in the wasteland?" Bruce is trying to get Mockridge's attention when Mockridge says, "We're gonna have to wrap this up and finish later, guys. Something has come up." Mockridge then leaves, and Lucius Fox says, "Well, whatever that meant sure rattled his cage." The scene then goes to the Batcave, where Bruce Wayne is repeating what the sign said, trying to figure out what it means. Alfred walks into the Batcave. While Bruce is pacing back and forth, trying to figure out the meaning of the sign, Dick Grayson is on the Bat computer playing a video game. Alfred then approaches Dick and says that must be quite the computer game if it's worth tying up a $50 million computer. Dick Grayson then says to Alfred, "It's not just a game, it's the game. It's the Riddle of the Minotaur." Dick says, "It's really cool, Alfred. Not only do you have to avoid all of these traps, but you have to answer all of these riddles." Dick then explains to Alfred that there's something called a hand of fate that picks you up and takes you to a different part of the maze when you answer a riddle wrong. Bruce then dresses up as Batman and asks Dick Grayson and Alfred if Mockridge owns a club downtown called the Wasteland. Dick Grayson then sighs and says, "The Wasteland." Dick then goes on to explain that the Wasteland in his game is a dead end. Batman then says to Dick, "Come on, Daniel Mockridge is walking into a trap." The scene then goes to the Wasteland Club, where we see Daniel Mockridge walking through it calling Nigma's name. Mockridge then walks into his office. Nigma is sitting in the chair behind his desk. Nigma then says, "Decode that riddle all by yourself? Or did you have help?" Mockridge says, "You're trespassing, Nigma. Get out. I'm closing this deal with Wayne. There's nothing you can do to stop me." Nigma says, "Of course there isn't. You don't understand. I have a business proposition for you." Mockridge then says to Nigma, "You came up with a new game?" Nigma says no, and then Mockridge says, "What is this, some kind of extortion scheme?" Nigma says, "You think I want money? No. What I want now is you." Two henchmen then grab Mockridge from behind. Batman and Robin then come crashing into the room through the window of the ceiling. Batman and Robin look around the room, and Batman says, "Empty." And then on the other side of the room, at the top of a staircase, we see Edward Nigma, and he says, "Who invited you? Do you know what happens to gate crashers? They have to match wits with the Riddler." Batman says, "The Riddler? What is that, Nigma? Some kind of joke on your name?" The Riddler says, My, do we have a brain under that pointy cowl of yours? So, do you have brawn to match?" The Riddler then signals for his henchmen to attack Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin then beat up Riddler's henchmen. The Riddler then turns on a spinning disco light. Batman, Robin, and the henchmen continue to fight, and then the disco light malfunctions and causes a fire in the room. The Riddler says, "Well done, Batman, but have you the wits to save two people at the same time?" The Riddler then shoots a giant version of the Chinese finger puzzle onto Robin. Riddler and his henchmen leave, dragging Mockridge along with them. Mockridge is screaming for Batman's help. Batman throws Robin over his shoulder and runs outside. But when Batman gets outside, Riddler and his henchmen are driving away, with Mockridge. Batman is left standing in the alley with Robin thrown over his shoulder. Robin begins to struggle, saying, "Get me out of this thing, it's getting hot in here." The scene then goes to Batman and Robin driving away in the Batmobile. Robin asks Batman what he meant when he said a joke on his name. Batman replies with, "I figured that the creator of the Minotaur video game was behind this as soon as I read that billboard. I read about him in the company files. His name is Nigma, Edward Nigma." Robin says, "I get it, enigma, like a puzzle or a riddle, an enigma. At least now we know who we're looking for." Robin then says, "Hey Bruce, look," and then he looks out the window and he sees that the city lights are flashing. Robin says, "The lights, why are they all flashing?" Batman replies with, "It's Morse code." The scene then goes to Riddler's hideout, where Riddler is standing in front of computer monitors, and then he says, "Well, that should get their attention." One of Riddler's henchmen then asks him, "Why, you got the man that you wanted." Riddler replies with, "Batman knows who I am. We'll have to put him and his snot-nosed cohort away first." The scene then goes back to Batman and Robin in the Batmobile. Robin asks Batman what the Morse code said. Batman says that the Morse code said, "When is the Minotaur's owner as high as an elephant's eye?" Robin says, "Well, Mockridge owns the Minotaur, but what's as high as an elephant's eye?" Batman replies with, "Corn." Robin says, "Corn?" Batman says, "What's another word for corn?" Robin says, "A kernel? Cob?" Batman says, "No, maize. Mockridge is in the maze." Robin says, "The maze at the amusement park." Batman says, "Exactly." Batman and Robin then drive to the maze at the amusement park. When they get to the maze, they're met by a giant projection of the Riddler. Batman asks the Riddler where Mockridge is. The Riddler says he's in the middle of the Minotaur maze with the Minotaur robot. The scene then shows Mockridge tied up at the base of the robot with the robot holding a sword over him. The Riddler says, "I programmed the Minotaur robot to kill Mockridge at 4:30 a.m., which gives you less than 10 minutes to run the maze and find him. But first, take off your utility belts. It makes things more interesting that way." Batman and Robin take off their utility belts and then enter the maze. After they enter, the door shuts behind them and they are trapped in the maze. The Riddler then says, "Oh, and you'll have to solve the riddle of the Minotaur too." Batman replies with, "I can't wait." Batman and Robin run through the maze. Batman then asks Robin how far he got in the game. Robin replies with, "I don't know, maybe halfway." Batman and Robin then stop, and Batman asks Robin, "Which way now?" Robin replies with, I'm thinking." A robot called the Griffin begins to follow them from behind. Batman looks at Robin concerned, and Robin says, "Well, that robot just blocks off the way that we came, that's all." The robot then begins to spit fire at them, and Batman and Robin dodge the fire. The Riddler then says to them, "Except I added an improvement of my own." Batman and Robin continue running through the maze. They run through a section of the maze that has a sign at the beginning of it that says, "Losers ahead." Robin says, "Losers ahead?" And then blades pop out of the walls, and then Batman and Robin duck. Batman says, "Losers ahead. I don't know what's worse, the traps or the puns." Batman and Robin crawl out of that section of the maze, and they're met by two Griffin robots at either side of them. Robin then says to Batman, "I don't know if this is a good time to tell you, but nobody has ever made it to the center of the maze." The two robots spit fire. Batman and Robin avoid the fire, and the two robots end up blowing each other up. Batman then says, "I'll find Mockridge if I have to tear this whole place apart, Nigma." The Riddler replies with, "I doubt it. I made sure the perils are quite lethal. You now have 8 minutes before Mockridge becomes the only good corporate shark, a dead one." Batman and Robin continue to run through the maze, and they're met by another sign, and it's written in Arabic. Robin says to Batman, "Great, you don't know how to read Arabic, do you?" Batman says, "No, but I can translate it." Batman translates what the sign says through his gauntlet. The translation reads, "Which way to the eating place?" Robin sighs and says, "Let's just pick one and move." Batman and Robin then run through the door to the left of the Arabic sign. Robin then says, "We're going the wrong way, because here comes the Hand of Fate." A golden hand then begins to fly towards them. Batman and Robin avoid the Hand of Fate. Batman then says, "Of course, we went through the door to the left, but in the Arab world, you always eat with your right hand." Batman and Robin then run through the door to the right of the Arabic sign. Batman and Robin are stopped at a locked door with 3 keys on the wall next to it that read A, C, and D. Batman says, "Why are they labeled key A, C, and D?" Robin says, "Don't look at me." Batman says, "Okay, let's try the D key." When Batman tries the D key, 2 blades shoot out of the wall at them. Batman and Robin avoid the blades. Batman says, "Okay, let's try the A key." Before Batman can put the A key into the lock, Robin grabs his hand and stops him. Robin says, "Do that and there's going to be 3 blades. It's the C key." When Batman puts the C key into the lock, the door opens and no blades come out of the wall. Robin says it's a musical riddle. The key of D has 2 sharps, the key of A has 3 sharps, but the key of C has no sharps. A Griffin robot comes up behind them and shoots fire at them. Batman and Robin avoid the fire, diving into the room they just opened. The fire hits the blades that are lodged into the wall, causing shards to hit the floor. Batman goes back and grabs one of the shards, and then he goes back into the room after Robin. Batman and Robin continue to run through the maze. They're met with a sign that says, "What is the shortest distance between 2 points on a globe?" Robin says, "This one I remember." The Riddler then says, "1 minute left, Batman." Batman then runs through the wrong door. Robin says, "No, that's the wrong door." Batman says, "I know, that's what I want." The Hand of Fate then comes flying towards Batman, and Batman jumps on the Hand of Fate. Batman, now flying on the Hand of Fate, takes the shard that he picked up earlier and cuts the hand open. He starts to rewire the hand. Robin, still in the maze, starts to holler for Batman. The Riddler says to Robin, "Forget him, kid. I handed him his walking papers." Batman then comes flying towards Robin on the Hand of Fate, and Robin jumps on it with him. With Batman and Robin both now on the Hand of Fate, Robin asks Batman how he did it, and Batman tells him that he linked the Hand of Fate to his gauntlet. The Riddler says, "That's grand-scale cheating, Batman. You're not allowed to tamper with the Hand of Fate." Batman replies with, "I don't believe in fate." Batman and Robin land in the center of the maze. The Riddler says to them, "You probably don't believe in Minotaurs either, but you still have to answer this riddle." Batman and Robin are now standing in front of the Minotaur robot that is holding Mockridge. The Minotaur robot's eyes begin to glow, and the Minotaur says, "I have billions of eyes, yet I live in darkness. I have millions of ears, yet I only have 4 lobes. I have no muscle, yet I rule 2 hemispheres. What am I?" Batman says, "That's simple, it's the human brain. It's the only thing Edward Nigma respects." The Riddler says, "A lucky guess, Batman, but it won't save you now. Destroy them." The Minotaur robot then comes after Mockridge, Robin, and Batman. The 3 of them run into the maze with the Minotaur robot following them. When the Minotaur robot corners the 3 of them, Batman then says, "I solved your riddle, Nigma. Now here's one for you. How do you destroy a Minotaur with a single blow?" And then Batman calls the Hand of Fate with his gauntlet, and the Hand of Fate destroys the robot. Batman says, "You're through, Nigma." The Riddler says, "Sorry boys, but you'll never find me. I'm not even in the amusement park, and by the time you get out of the maze, I'll be out of the city." The scene then shows a plane leaving Gotham. We then time skip a few months and we see Bruce Wayne sitting in a chair reading a newspaper. The newspaper is talking about the business deal between Competitron and Wayne Industries. Dick Grayson is standing over Bruce's shoulder, and Dick says, "I bet you the mayor is going to be happy about this." Bruce says, "Bringing in $5.5 million in new jobs will do that." Dick says, "But that creep Mockridge got to pocket $10 million from the deal. Talk about a burn." Bruce then says, "Maybe, but we've been searching for the Riddler for months. He's still out there." The scene then goes to Mockridge's house, where Mockridge is locking 4 locks on his door, and then he shuts out the lights. Mockridge then makes his way to his bedroom, with a gun in his hands, trembling. Bruce says Mockridge may have his money, but he won't be sleeping well. Mockridge then gets into his bed and pulls the sheets over him, terrified. Bruce then says, "Now how much is a good night's sleep really worth? Now there's a riddle for you." And that brings this story to an end. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, share, and subscribe, and when you do, make sure you hit the bell so you get notified whenever I do drop a video, and I will see you guys in the next one.